my dream was to be a national personality, to command such a following that when I talked about the Lord, people would listen. I went to a college where our star alum was Billy Graham, and he was held up to us as the icon of evangelism and witnessing. I don't recall a single class to teach us how to do it, how to introduce somebody to Christ. I always thought that in order to do that, you had to have an organist and a pianist and a big choir and celebrities and huge crowds and somebody singing Just As I Am. So I thought, well, I'll just leave that to Billy and to D.L. Moody and to people like that. All of a sudden, I was pushed out into the real world, into commercial broadcasting. I found myself at a rock and roll station in Seattle, selling radio time. I didn't enjoy sales. I wanted to be back on the air, but God seemed to have something else in mind for me. I became very depressed that year and really considered ending my life. Finally told my old Sunday school teacher, I'm a guy who knows Jesus, have for a long time. He's left me in this awful job, in this humiliating circumstance when I should be out in the spotlight talking to people about the Lord. He said, your life is your self-image. I said, okay, assuming you're right, what do I do about it? He said, in everything give thanks. It's one thing to talk about soul winning, to read about it in the scriptures, and it's quite another thing to take the leap of faith and risk what somebody might think about you. It dawned on me one day that there were a lot of friends of mine that would never darken the door of a church. So I thought, wouldn't it be great if I could make it possible for them to hear the gospel at least once in their lives? Liz and I would invite our clients and our vendors and business colleagues. I invited them to come to lunch with me once a month for 4 months, be my guest, and we were going to discuss 4 topics. Who God is, who Jesus is, what the Bible's all about, and so what? That's how his deal, as we call it, began. It's just telling the story. And when you fall in love with Jesus, you begin to want to tell his story. One of my mentors told me one time, God's not in the resume building business, he's in the people business. George, it doesn't matter what size market you're in, how big your audience is, how much you're paid, how big your ratings are. God is putting you in a job because there are people there that he wants you to love. The big stage is great for some people, but all of us don't have to be on the big stage. You can be a witness for Christ in your home, your neighborhood, on the job, riding the metro bus to and from work. Whatever situation you're in, say you're on an airplane and you're sitting with the person you engage them in conversation, and it seems like they really have no clue when it comes to spiritually. Well, you probably never see that person again. Focus on that person's forever. What could you say to them that maybe nobody else in their entire lives will have the opportunity or take the bold step to say? Focus on forever.